Hi guys, I'm making this video because when I've been buying guitars in the past, I've made many mistakes. There are things that are absolutely essential that you need to check on your instrument before you buy it, and a lot of those things aren't talked about commonly. This lesson will be mainly focusing on electric guitar. If this video gets decent views, I'll make another video which focuses primarily on acoustic. But in my opinion, the things to watch out for with electric and acoustic guitar, although there are some similar things, there are definitely some massive differences as well, so I think that warrants a separate video. Okay, so the first point I'm going to talk about is probably the least important, and that's the sound. I know that's probably quite controversial because obviously you don't want to buy a guitar that sounds bad. When you listen to a lot of comparison videos nowadays, you often hear that there's not a massive gulf between an American Fender Strat and a Mexican Fender Strat. And to be honest, a lot of the electric guitar sound comes from the pickups. And also there's just so many variables to watch out for, like what amp are you using, is your cable good? What is important though I'd say is to play an E chord and just make sure that it's resonating well and it's ringing out. And make sure that everything is nice and silent as far as the pickups go, because with a clean sound there shouldn't really be any noise. Okay, so when you buy an electric guitar, you want to make sure there are no uneven frets. You can't really tell by just looking, you need to actually play it and make sure that there's no buzzing across the frets, because even a new model can have uneven frets. So just play from the first fret all the way to the last fret or across all the strings and make sure that there's no buzzing at all. And also make sure when you're bending strings the note doesn't choke out. Uneven frets can be quite costly, so I recommend definitely checking that out before you buy an instrument. To get a guitar either refretted or probably just fret dressed is probably what it'll need if it's just uneven frets. It still costs quite a bit of money. So the next thing to check is mainly for when you're buying second hand, but even if you're buying a new model, you should always check this anyway. Now this guitar sounds great still. I bought it about 10 years ago. But I wouldn't sell it to my worst enemy, and I'll tell you why. The reason for that is the bridge and the truss rod inside here have rusted away completely to the point where you can't adjust them anymore. So these little screws in here, you can't turn them because there's so much rust. And it's the same with the truss rod. Now that would be costly to replace and fix. The reason this happened is I used to work on cruise ships, playing guitar obviously. And I used to play outside on the pool deck quite a lot, and unfortunately the sea air does horrible things to the metal parts of our guitars. So you want to check for rust, especially when you're buying a second-hand model, and make sure that there's no rust and that everything is still adjustable as you need it, because the truss rod and being able to adjust the truss rod is so important for being able to adjust your neck, and being able to adjust the bridge is really important to things like intonation and action. The next thing you want to check is the nut here. And what you want to make sure is that when you're bending strings down here, that the string is not popping out of the nut. It's a pretty easy fix. If you get a guitar set up, a luthier can adjust your nut for you and fix that pretty easily. But if you don't have the money to afford a guitar setup and you just want the guitar to be set up well as you buy it, then don't buy a guitar where the string is popping out of the nut when you bend it on the first few frets. You also want to make sure, as far as the nut goes, that your frets are not buzzing down here. Now, I said earlier that uneven frets can be the cause of buzz, but also the nut being cut improperly can also cause buzz, mainly on the first few frets. So buzz generally is a good indication of a problem with your guitar, and you should probably get that checked before you buy it. Tuning stability is important. A good way to check that is, first of all, make sure you haven't got new strings on the guitar. And then to bend the string and check to see if the string goes out on a tuner. Intonation is going to be more to do with the setup than the guitar, obviously. But again, if you haven't got the money to set up your guitar, then make sure that the 12th fret harmonic here is the same as the open string. The next point sort of ties into the first, and that's to make sure that everything electronically is sound. But what you want to make sure is your input jack isn't wobbly. That's something that quite often happens. And sometimes when this becomes loose, the immediate electronics inside here can get sort of moved about and damaged. So you want to make sure this isn't loose, and you want to make sure that when you move the lead, there's no weird sounds or cracking or popping going on. After that, there's the action. Again, this is easily adjustable with a good setup. But if you want to play it straight out of the shop, then you need to make sure that your action isn't too high or too low. Again, if your action is too low and your strings are too close to your frets, you can get buzz and other issues. The next point is to make sure that your neck is in a decent condition. You want to make sure there's no weird bow. A good test is to hold down the first fret and then the last fret closest to the body. And then what you want to do is you just want to tap it. And if there's a bit of movement, there's loads on here because again this truss rod is broken, so I can't adjust it. If there's a bit of movement, then it's fine. But you want literally a minuscule amount of movement. So you're tapping it, and this will just barely move between the fret and your finger. Okay, so you've checked the sound, you've checked the neck, you've checked the electronics, you've checked everything. Everything checks out. Well, the most important thing, I think, is how the guitar feels. And quite often people get the sound confused with how the guitar feels, because if the guitar feels good, you're going to play better stuff and it's going to sound better to your ear. And I think that's the most important thing, because all the other things I've talked about can be sorted with some money if you have the money. But how a guitar feels can never change. The guitar is always going to be the guitar. So in my opinion, that's the most important thing. Does the guitar feel right for you when you're playing it? Does everything feel how it should? Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed my video. If I missed anything out, let me know in the comments below. Please subscribe if you enjoyed it. But yeah, mainly let me know if I missed anything out and I'll try and address it in a future video. Thank you.